Hey y'all, it's Zoe here, your nutrition peer, back here at Nutrition Prep Notes with another prep note for you. In today's prep note, I'll be sharing June's prep tips, so stay tuned. Okay, y'all, so June test takers, you are in your final stretch before taking your CNS exam. I'm so excited for you. You're just about at the point of crossing that finish line and taking your exam. And I just have a couple of tips to share with you, maybe more like three major tips to share with you. And I believe this will help you to prep smarter and not harder. This is definitely a full circle moment for me because just last year I took my CNS exam. So I definitely can relate to how you're feeling and what you're probably going through right about this time as it relates to your test prep. So the first thing I want to share with you is that now's the time, especially since you're about a week out from your exam, now's the time to really make sure to review some of those earlier topics that you studied earlier on in your prep time. The reason I say now's the time to revisit that is because you've probably covered a lot of things up until this point, lots of content, and maybe you haven't really touched some of the things that you studied earlier on. And so now's the time to really make sure to dedicate a little bit of time to review earlier topics that you haven't seen for a while. Maybe take some practice questions on those topics if you can, just to refresh your ability to be able to distinguish between answer choices and make the right choices, to make sure that you really understand the concepts and the content of those earlier topics. So this is definitely a great time to do that. The second thing I want to recommend that you do is to really make sure, take some time to go over domains 7 and 8. Now, these are the sections that I definitely recommend reviewing last in your prep time, just because they really don't cover much or touch on really the foundations of nutrition, and they don't really help you to work through that very important nutrition care process. These are just accessory things that you really need to know as a nutrition professional. So definitely I recommend reserving these for last. And I honestly don't think that these topics should take you more than a couple of days to do. And so for domains 7 and 8, resources I recommend reviewing in order to help you prep smarter and not harder for this section include .gov websites, especially as it relates to foodborne illness and environmental toxicity and things like that. Make sure you get the most accurate and up-to-date information. And so typically you're probably just going to get that information online. And then as it relates to the practice management section, I recommend taking advantage of an article on the Today's Dietitian. I think it's on reimbursement and insurance. And if I can find that article, I'll link it below in the description. But to get my complete list of resources to review these two sections, that is in my personal study blueprint. But with the information I've shared with you, I think you'll be able to get a pretty good gist of what you need to know if you take advantage of the .gov websites. And then that Today's Dietitian article really helps with reviewing insurance and reimbursement. And then the other things, I have a whole video on scope of practice, so definitely revisit that if you just need a refresher on that as well. But these topics are pretty, you just have to memorize some information about those things, which shouldn't be too bad. These are smaller percentages of the exam, so definitely give them a little bit of a review, but don't allow that to stall you in your prep time. The third thing I want to share with you is the importance of having something I like to call a cram block. I know that some will tell you it's not good to cram, you shouldn't cram, but there's a lot of topics on this exam, and some things you just might not have gotten to at this point, and that's okay. Make sure to spend the bulk of your review time on owning and going over the things that you do know, and then just reserve a space and time, a few hours, to just cram some things that maybe you haven't gotten a chance to really review and study for this exam. Now, I have an entire article written on how to do this, how to schedule it in, and how to go about figuring out what topics you want to cover in the cram block. So definitely visit my blog post, and I have a link to that in the description below to tell you how to schedule and plan out a cram block. Because in my opinion, for this exam, that's important. I had to do it. And so it's definitely something that I believe will help you as well. So definitely don't sweat it, but definitely consider that. So just in a brief review, number one, review those topics you studied earlier on in your exam prep. The second thing, take some time to review domains 7 and 8. Even if you're getting to it just now for the first time, that's okay. Number 3, take time to schedule in a cram block. And definitely read my blog post. I have it linked in the description below because that will help you organize and set that up for yourself. So congratulations, June test takers. Those are your tips. And I hope that you're able to run with those and that they really help you to feel more comfortable going into your exam later on this week and into the next. So that's what I have for y'all. Now, December test takers and those of you who are taking your exam later on, this is what I want to share with you this month. So this month, I recommend that you really start getting yourself organized. Now, I have videos earlier on the playlist to help you do that, but particularly start thinking about your application, start thinking about your budget, what you want to spend on resources to prep for the exam, making sure that you have all of the things in place as it relates to scheduling your exam, the application fee, getting your transcripts, etc. And I have an entire video, which is in the form of kind of like a podcast style. It's just you listening to me tell you how to go through your application process. And I share with you how that was for me. And I give you tips on how to go through that a lot more gracefully and easily as you are preparing to prep for the exam. So definitely check out the CNS Exam application tips video. And I will leave that linked in the description below as well. Now's the time to get that going and just planning out how you want to do it, how you want to go about it. Now, if you are about 4 months out from the exam, this is a perfect time to get started on this, and then start thinking about what materials you want to use and to gather to study for the exam. As always, I recommend my personal study blueprint because I tell you all the resources I used, but you can also do this on your own and start thinking about the way that you learn best and what resources are going to be best for you based on your learning style and the time frame that you want to take the exam. 2 to 3 months of focused study time is my personal recommendation for studying for this exam. Get organized and revisit some of my earlier videos in the playlist to help you begin putting things in motion and in place for yourself so that you can go through this time more gracefully and feel more prepared. And so that's all I have to share with y'all today for June's prep note. I hope that you all have a wonderful day and that you are encouraged to continue to go forward. Thanks for listening in. And remember, it's time to prep like you mean it. Stay tuned for the checklist after this video. Y'all take care and talk to you next time.